Good morning, everybody. This is Mike from The Last Corvette. Happy Sunday. I have a couple of things I have to do today, this morning anyway, so I can be ready for the Lions football. Sorry. But this video is about automotive. If you guys know or don't know, I've been automotive for over 20 years actually, and I've seen it all. I've seen, recessions. I've seen COVID, and we somehow, some way, find a way to survive. But there is a wave coming again. I always bring up a bell curve for like economy, how well the industry is doing, the economy is doing, how well the market is doing. But also there's a wave that follows manufacturing and where companies take their vehicles, their product to be made. So a while ago, everyone pulled out, I'm not going to say 100%, not even close, but everyone pulled out of Mexico for logistics reasons, for quality reasons, and of course, well, to have more control. And I'll explain that a little bit later. Well, now the winds are changing again. So we know for a fact, because we do the same analysis within our companies, right? As far as profit margins, ROIs, is it better to make it here in North America? Is it better to go outside of the US, either south of the border or somewhere else? But you also find that the cost of material, the labor is not as cheap as it used to be, but there will be a wave of certain vehicles and obviously certain manufacturers going back south to Mexico to either produce components, sub-assemblies, or entire vehicles, like some companies do now. One of the biggest fights I've always had on my hands trying to explain manufacturing in general to people that are not in manufacturing is obviously the profit margin, right? And also when, your European brands, your Asian brands are making vehicles here in the States, and people complain and complain and complain about it, saying, well, that money leaves, that money goes to Japan, or that money goes to, South Korea or Taiwan or wherever else in the world, right? Germany. It does, but you have to understand that they're investing into the US, they're investing into facilities, and of course, the number one reason why I have no problems with what they're doing is they're creating jobs here, which then powers our economy. People are making money, people are living, people are spending money within our economy, right? So it's a two-way road there, and you have to understand that as long as our economy benefits from whoever it is, okay, I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be, Ford, it doesn't have to be GM, baby, UAW and Stellantis. And Stellantis is a whole different ballgame because is it a big three company? Yes, it is, because of the brands that were purchased through Daimler Chrysler, through FCA, and then Stellantis. But Stellantis is a prime example of the same thing. People over here pull up on Dodges and Rams or whatever, and they're like, you know what? This is American as American gets, blah blah blah. And I'm like, then you're fighting a losing battle because Stellantis is a European company. They're a global company, the largest automaker in the world, and they're struggling like crazy because of the size and the structure, right? And once again, it's not so easy to run businesses on different continents, right? And stay profitable and have your fingers on everything, right? On the pulse or the heartbeat. But Stellantis is a prime example where they take that profit, they take that money, and they ship it. They ship it back to a different country, right? They ship it back to Europe. So, actually, multiple countries. And once again, the employees, everyone that works here in North America, okay, are the ones that are benefiting, right? So they're getting paid, they have food on their table, they have a car, they have a roof over their head, and of course, they're putting that money back into the economy. I'm okay with that. I hope everyone understands. So let's switch back to Mexico and the Mexico operation, right? We have this bell curve. This bell curve is, um, you know, every 10 years, we have our highs and then we have our lows. and then we kind of just flatline, and then we start climbing again. That's when everything takes off. Automotive is a great tool to judge how the economy is going to be doing. If people are buying cars, and obviously the manufacturers are selling cars, that means the economy is doing good and it's going to climb. And then we reach the top and we start falling again. That's been going on for decades. This is nothing new. And like I said, that bell curve of automotive is a great tool to judge everything from housing market to interest rates to just overall health of the economy. But we also go through a phase of shipping stuff to Mexico. Now, Mexico for years and years and years, specifically for established, OEMs, tier one suppliers, it's been a great tool because of the labor. So you can take something, I'll give you guys a perfect example. Dodge Ram used to be made both here in Michigan, and back then it was the Warren assembly plant, and also in Mexico. And so they made Ram 1500 light duties and heavy duties here and there. Now, when the 5th gen, the DT came out, the version that's out now, I think right now it's DJ, but regardless, same thing. They left the classic, the 4th gen Ram, for like years over there. They were making it at a cheaper, obviously MSRP and all that. And they were basically, the last couple of years, they were just throwing parts, whatever parts they had laying around. It would be like a front of a Rebel Ram, and like a work truck everywhere else type of thing. But now the classic is over with. So once again, there's a focus there to take the light duty and basically split it again between two countries. Now, that right there, and this is once again owned by Stellantis, that right there is not coming back. Okay, so it's not feeding our economy, it's only feeding the company. Okay, so there's nothing there in between. The only really thing that would recover some of the money is the suppliers from the States shipping their components and sub-assemblies to Mexico to build these vehicles, to help build these vehicles, I should say, to assemble these vehicles, and of course, like freight. Right, so truckers and trains and whatnot going back and forth. Now, as far as Mexico goes, now I've worked for companies where we had huge compounds in Mexico, like huge assembly plants in Mexico, and they were very well organized. They were very well ran. You have to understand something, that most big suppliers or big OEMs that have facilities down there, they are ran by people from their country or this country, US, right? And then they rotate, so to keep basically everyone in check. But the labor is starting to go up in Mexico. Mexico is not stupid, right? People are not stupid that live there, right? They're saying, oh, you're going to bring more jobs in? Well, guess what? Our wages are going to go up. So the profit margins are going to drop. They're still going to be in favor of whoever is making a component or a vehicle there. So going back to the whole Dodge Ram, the profit margin of making it now in Sterling Heights assembly plant versus making it in Mexico is night and day. You're making a lot more money, yes, with all the transport and freight and blah, 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 and bringing the trucks back. Of course, that's a lot of money tied in, but in a big picture, you're still making a lot more money per vehicle there than you do here. But running a business in Mexico, so you got to have a well-oiled machine. Most of these facilities are like compounds for various reasons. But you have to deal with the government. You have to pay the government. You also have to pay the locals. You have to pay somebody that knows everyone around that facility to keep it safe and to keep it operating. And unfortunately, nobody talks about this, but you do have to work and pay the cartel to protect your assets, to protect your investment there, right? And your people. Nobody really talks about it, but that's the truth. And, most companies like my company, we are staying away from Mexico for a couple of reasons. Number one is the whole hassle of shipping people back and forth to run the facility, number one. And number two, the wages, so the cost or the ROI on whatever product you're making is actually going to start going up. It's never going to match what we pay here, especially on the UAW side in the States, but it's also going to go up to a point where it's going to be pretty much a wash, especially for smaller companies. Bigger companies, they have more infrastructure. Let's just put it to you this way. But smaller companies, I think it's going to be in the next like 3 to 5 years. Mexico is really going to boom with manufacturing, specifically automotive. And the main reason is because a lot of the suppliers are in Mexico. You have to understand that a lot of the harnesses come from Mexico. Most of the modules come from Asia that go in all these vehicles. So there's definitely logistics reasons that make sense. And there's also obviously suppliers that supply plants, assembly plants in Mexico. So for them to move their operations there makes sense because it's actually cheaper for them to ship it versus shipping it from North America across the border. They're shipping it within Mexico, right, within the border. But yeah, in 3 5 years, you guys will see that Mexico is still going to be a viable source for a lot of the bigger companies. But tier one suppliers, like tier two suppliers, or just regular smaller suppliers, they're not going to make that move because, like I said, the wages are going to go up. There's a lot more risk involved of running operations down there. But in the big picture, once again, to close this out, guys, it doesn't matter who owns the company as long as the money stays here in the US and feeds me, you, the next company, the local hardware store, the gas station, Kroger's, whatever, right? As long as we are spending the money, if it's from BMW or Honda, Toyota, whatever it is, Ford, right? It all makes sense to me anyway. And you can comment below. But yeah, like I said, a couple of things. Mexico will be another hot item here coming up, probably within the next year or so. And then it will level out. The wages will go up. And we'll see that bell curve once again, where probably within the next 10 years, companies will start bringing their product back. Not 100%, but some of the product back to the States or possibly even Europe or Asia, where it's all basically started. Talk to you guys later.